to the website. Do you want me to do that?
That would be great.
Yes,
Let's see
please.
if
I just
he's
had
got this.
Carolyn on the phone. She's working on it on her end, but if someone could send the link, I can't keep up with the flow on my phone. So if someone could send that.
Sure. Scott, where did you put the link? Did you put it in the comments or? He comes and goes, his voice. I can't hear him.
Yeah,
sometimes.
I can't hear him. Scott?
So I think, Jen, one logistic we're going to have to consider is if we live stream it, my guess is that Scott's going to be the only speaker we'll be able to hear. So the meeting portion probably won't be able to happen, is my guess.
Right. Or we could do it at the
Scott?
end. We could come back and do it at the end, right?
Scott, there he is.
We can't hear you, Scott.
Can you guys hear me okay? I'm April from Unanswered College, the college rep. Yeah, okay.
We can hear you, April.
Yes, sorry, April. There's some technical difficulties. Scott owns the Zoom, so we're just trying to work through some things so that all of our people can get on.
No, that's okay. So if we do live stream to YouTube, I've done that before. Those people can watch and they can hear everything. They just wouldn't be able to participate in the Q&A because we wouldn't see the questions come through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your patience.
Of course, yeah. No, I get it. Technology is the thing.
We're all just
yep, I get it.
Living the dream right now. So thank you very much. If you could just bear with us, it's challenging because Scott owns the Zoom, so we're trying to get it started.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Scott, can I have the link so I can get it out to everybody? And also, if people want to, I can also say if people want to ask questions, they can send them to me or text me. I can put my text there. You can do it that way.
And at this point, I'm not sure. Can everyone on the Zoom hear me right now? I'm not. Yes. Okay. Everyone, as you can see, we're having some challenges. Our speaker manages the Zoom. He set up the Zoom link from his end because he has the speakers coming in and the other panel. So we are unfortunately, well, we're just in a situation where we're waiting for Scott and our speakers to get the Zoom link set up or get it linked to YouTube. So I'm sorry for the delay. I know it's inconvenient. If we could, everyone just bear with us for a little bit. In a couple minutes here, we're going to either we'll make a call on if this is going to work or not. And maybe what I might do, Caroline and Kelly, do you think it's might make sense for us just to start the business portion of the meeting and for whomever is on the call now, and we can at least get that part moving while we work on the speaker part. I don't know what people's thoughts are on that.
Well, Jen, why don't we go ahead and do that? Scott's just shared the YouTube link, so I think it's going to take Caroline probably a minute to get the email out to the whole chapter. So maybe everyone who's on, if you guys could stay on, we're going to do a quick 10-minute update with regards meeting logistics. And then Scott, I'll pass it over to you, and then we'll all just switch over to YouTube if that works for everybody.
Okay. I hope that's okay with everyone. I'm just going to get started. We'll just go really quickly through the business portion of the meeting. Again, thank you for everyone's patience. If you have people who are trying to get on, if you could just kind of text your friends to hang on. I can't keep up with the flow of people saying they can't get on my phone. So we're gonna COVID pivot and make the best of what we can. Can someone tell me how many people we have on? I can't.
We have 96. We have 96 on.
Okay, so great. Thank you, all of you, for bearing with us. I am going to just behave as if, and we'll get through the business portion. And hopefully by the time we do that, we'll have the speaker. Again, if you could relay the information that it'll be coming via a link to a live stream from YouTube. And what we will do as a board, we will make sure that all of the information in terms of our our business portion is pushed out via email so that everyone, whether you could be on this link or not, is able to get the information. Thank you for our hardworking board. That was the first thing I was going to say. Thank you to everyone on this board, our grade level advisors, our liaisons, to all of the people who have worked so hard behind the scenes. And in a normal year, it's a big job. And in a year like this, with situations like this, and with philanthropies having to cancel or change regulations or restrictions at the last minute, we've got a really hardworking group of people who have had to really change on the fly, step in, lean in, and do a lot of extra work. So personally, I don't know how to thank this group enough for how much they've done above and beyond a regular a big volunteer commitment. So if you look at the list on the website of who are our board members, who are our liaisons, who are our grade level advisors, and you have a chance to say thank you to them, I think that would be really nice for everybody. Despite how it looks right now, I want to share some great news of how everything's going. I thought this would be interesting for people to know how much we as a group, as a chapter, have already done this year, despite all of our challenges. We have completed, as a chapter, 52 events. We've filled 343 volunteer spots, and served 26 different philanthropies. So congratulations to everyone for getting out there or staying in and completing events and just supporting the people in the community. I mean, I can't do the math to extrapolate how many people 52 events and 342 volunteer spots have impacted. And that's near and dear to my heart. And so you should all be really proud of yourselves. So anyway, that's just a little good news coming at you. And I just want to follow up on a couple things. We sent an email around the holidays about the impact of last minute cancellations. It's tough, and I know everyone's having a hard time. The test comes in, it's last minute. But if you could be as in front of a cancellation of an event as you can be, and follow the procedures that are stated on the website under event procedures and registration cancellations, that would just be really helpful to our board so that we can try to meet the philanthropy's needs and not have to cancel for them. Also, wanted to just let everyone know, I'm sure you do, but just to reiterate, we as an organization are following all the county and state guidelines in regards to COVID safety, COVID policies, and any type of restrictions or mandates. We're on top of that. We're also being additionally responsive to any restrictions or special needs at an organization if they have something above and beyond a stated policy. So we're really sensitive to that. We're always taking that into account. And the day chairs and the liaisons have done a great job of posting all of that information on each event. That all said, we as a board are really excited that we are moving ahead and planning for an in-person luncheon in May, our typical May luncheon that we haven't had in, is it 2 years now? 2 years we haven't had one. We are planning an in-person event for that, barring anything that comes up that, we've all learned that things come up, but we're excited to do that. We're excited to connect again in person. We're excited to welcome our new incoming class in the traditional way. A couple grades have not had that welcome and that orientation, and we know it's been tough, and we know it's been tough to join an organization like this blind, without that welcome and without that sense of connectivity. So we are really looking forward to getting back to that. We're going to give more information about registration and all of that as we get closer. That's not till May, but I did not want to be on everyone's radar that's our goal, to start connecting again. If things, are appropriate, we will be doing that. Quick business, and this is going to be dependent if these persons could get on. Melissa Black, were you able to get on? I'm sorry, I can't scroll through all the names and see it.
Yeah,
if Melissa
here.
Yay. Oh, you. Melissa, if you wouldn't mind just presenting the minutes from our last parent meeting so we can just approve those and move forward, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yep. So we need to approve the minutes of our August 22nd, 2021 parent meeting. They were posted on the website for your review. If you have any questions or corrections, please speak up now.
Nope.
Okay. Then I move that we approve the August 22nd minutes as written. Can I have everybody do a quick raise of your hand? Oh, sorry, I need a second first. Can someone second that for me?
I'll second.
I second.
Yep.
Okay,
got it.
thank you. And then a quick raise of your hand. That might be a logistically challenging. You can even
I
just.
think we've got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have quick then the opposite. If anybody is opposed, go ahead and unmute yourself. Or you can contact me after too. We can talk about it. But it looks like we have the vast majority. So I'm going to go ahead and say that motion passes. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you so much. Okay, now Marie, were you able to make it on? Marie Vaughn, are you on the, I don't know if you were able to make it on, and if not, we'll post it. I'll take care of it via email. Okay, so sorry about that. So now we're just going to move forward, and hopefully we're getting some of the technical stuff worked out on the back end. Caroline, I'm going to throw it over to you, our very, very hardworking co-VP of Philanthropy. Caroline has some information to share. Worked really hard on updating a lot of our documentation to reflect COVID changes to how we sign in for things and whatnot. So Caroline, are you still on?
Yeah, sorry, there's gonna be a lot of dings. I just told people to text me their info and I'll put it in the chat to get credit if they're watching it live stream. So just bear with my ding.
You know what,
okay.
Everyone, let's just, one of the things, everyone online and on live stream, and if this is taped, I'll say it later. One of the things I said when I started my little tenure here is it's all going to be about forgiveness. We're all going to we will figure out the attendance after we are just going to move forward and get to the good stuff.
And why my computer's blowing up.
It's COVID land, and it's all going to be okay. So Caroline.
Okay, so I'm going to take it away with a few
Perfect.
here. I'm speaking on behalf of the Philanthropy team. So that's me, Caroline Davis, Jen Daniel Duckering, and also Amy Gibson. So I have three main points today. I'm going to go really quick, but just text me, email me, call me if you have any questions about what I'm saying. First, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that they need to fulfill their philanthropy event requirements by May 31st of this year for 7th through 11th graders. For seniors, you're supposed to have them done by the 15th of April. If you have any questions or problems with this, please reach out to your GLA. And if they can't resolve it, you can reach out to me for that as well. If you need to contact anybody, if you don't know our contact or what our positions are, you can go on our website, on your portal, through the portal on the website, and just go chapter. And then the next thing under chapter would be board, committee, and GLA. So just go there if you need to find our contact information to ask us any questions. Just a note, on the calendar, you'll see two events over the summer, one in June and one in August. You are allowed to participate in one of those. That's what our bylaws say. But your credit from that will go to next year, not to this year. So please don't save thinking that you can sign up for those. And I just want to make that clear to you guys. Remember a couple things about signing up for philanthropy events. Just remember to sign up through your teen account. Everybody's doing a pretty good job of that now, but just to reiterate that, please don't cancel within 48 hours of the event unless you're on your deathbed. And show up on time. Just remember that this relationship that we have with our philanthropies is really the foundation for TVIA. And we've worked really hard to get these relationships up off the ground. So it's important that we honor our commitment to preserve that relationship. Okay, that's enough about that. Next, parent day chair. Make sure that you're fulfilling your parent day chair requirement by May 31st also. If you aren't sure what that commitment is or you have questions, please reach out to me. I just put a new updated detailed day chair instructions on our website. If you go under the chapter and then you go under day chair information and then day chair requirements, you'll find a document there that explains everything you need to know about what to do before, during, and after an event. There's also a video there for using your mobile app as a day chair. And that's helpful. I'm going to try to create a tutorial, also video tutorial also that goes along with my document, but things are kind of changing, so we'll see about that one. But in the meantime, again, if you have questions, please contact me. I'm available. A few things to keep in mind. Due to COVID, our day chair sign up is different than it's ever been. The way that you sign up for your day chair is that you sign your teen up to participate in a philanthropy event. And then the liaison will ask for volunteers, for eligible volunteers to sign up as day chair, and that's your chance. So that's when you volunteer to fulfill your day chair requirement. Just want to make that very clear. Please carefully read over that document of instructions, even if you've been a day chair in previous years, because we have changed some things and I want everybody to be on the same page. So please take a look at that. I might try to throw it in the comments. I don't know if you can throw a document in there, but if you can, I will. Otherwise, it's on the website under the day chair. Okay, and the last thing is finally, like Jen was saying, I hope COVID is on its way out and then we can at least approximate a full calendar of in-person events next year. That would be so nice. I'm in the process right now of trying to figure out who our liaisons are going to be for the philanthropies that we do have, and what events are going to go on our calendar. If you are interested in serving as a liaison, we may have some positions opening up. So please reach out to me. It would be great to have some new faces on, and it's a really fun way to get more involved in the organization. You also get to waive your day chair responsibility if you do that. So there's a little bonus. And then finally, if you know of a philanthropy, like say you're with NCL or somebody else and you have a philanthropy that you're really into and you think would be a good fit for us, you'd like to see that on our calendar, please get in touch with me and we can try to figure out if that's appropriate for TVIA. And I think that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to our VP of Membership, Emily Manarino. Is Emily on here?
Did
I'm
Emily
here.
get on?
I made it. I'm the lucky
There you
number.
are. You're right next
Hi
to me.
guys. Thanks so much. And I'll try to make this quick as well. I just have
Hi,
a couple of things. Hi. First, thank you to everyone that has already completed the renewal process already. We just honestly have maybe 5 or 6 families in each class that haven't. So please, those families, get your renewals done ASAP. You only have until February 1st to get it done. At midnight, it shuts down, and then your son will not be able to be in our chapter unless you reapply. And so please get that done ASAP. I'll probably send one reminder out more before February 1st. Secondly, we have our prospective parent meeting coming up on February 24th at 7 o'clock. We're doing it via Zoom this year. That will kick off our new member drive for the class of 2028. We are super excited. I think we have lots of interested families already contacting me. But we are our best marketers, is what I would say. And so please reach out to friends, neighbors, anyone that has boys that you think would be a good fit for our chapter, and send them my way. Either email me or have them reach out, or you can just send me their email and I'll be glad to send them the Evite link, the Evite with the Zoom link for the meeting on February 24th. So last for me is with our new applicants and the new applications coming in, every member is allowed to write 3 recommendations for these applicants. So if you want to write a recommendation for someone, just write that recommendation and send it to the VP membership email. And I think that's it. I really appreciate, we've had a little bit of kinks in the road with the renewal process, and I really appreciate everyone's patience and flexibility. And I appreciate everyone reaching out if you have any questions. And I think that's it for me. Please reach out again, questions, concerns. Yes, Jen.
I was just going to throw it to me. Melissa's not.
Yes, I was just going to say, I was supposed to introduce Melissa, our president-elect, next, but
Yes.
she is not on. She is
Yeah.
watching via YouTube, Jen. So she
Yeah.
asked me for you to give updates. So
Thank you.
that's it for my end.
Thank you. Isn't this amazing how we've all learned to just kind of like 52 card pick up with everything in
Just
our
roll
lives
with
right
it.
now? Melissa Catanzaro was all set to speak to you. I'm so sorry that she can't, because she is our wonderful president-elect. She will be taking over the president position next year. She has spent a lot of time the past couple of weeks getting up to speed. She is wonderful. She's a big part of this community, and I think she's going to just do amazing things for our chapter. Working on the nominating committee, things are moving forward. The big ask is that if you are interested in becoming part of this merry band of volunteer soldiers here, just reach out to Melissa Catanzaro. Her information is PresidentElect is her email on the TVIA.org, or you can, look her up in Cheetah and find her contact information. We are looking to fill a significant number of spots on our board for next year. Every different things for different people, different opportunities to contribute behind the scenes, more out front. So please reach out to Melissa if you're interested in becoming more involved. She can explain the jobs that are available. We can put you in contact with maybe the person who's leaving so you can really learn about the commitment and what it takes. I've been doing this for, I don't know, is it like 5 years now? I don't even know how old my kid is right now tonight, but I've been doing it for a while. And what I've gotten a lot out of it in terms of just really understanding the breadth and depth of need in San Diego, and all the different ways that you can contribute a little or a lot. So if that's something you're interested in, I highly encourage you to contact Melissa and to see how you could become involved in the board moving forward. That's it for Melissa. So I am Melissa. So Melissa is throwing it to Kelly Conway. Kelly Conway, you're up. You're the next contestant on. Let's make a meeting happen.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for your patience and appreciate you improvising here. And a big thank you to Scott Schimmel. Scott is our presenter for the remainder of today's meeting. Scott is the president-in-chief of the U School, which is an organization that believes every student deserves the opportunity to construct a meaningful life for themselves. Scott is also the co-host of the Dream Big podcast with Bob Goff and friends. And Scott and his team are here today to present to all the TVI parents about what the college admission process looks like today. He's going to give us a better understanding of the process, how colleges and the process itself has changed as a result of the COVID pandemic. He'll talk a little bit about standardized tests and what he's seeing now, as well as what's going to happen moving forward, and give us a little bit of insight into California residents and local schools. I know some of you are able to stay on the bridge, the Zoom bridge, in which case I assume we will be able to do Q&A, and we'll figure out a creative way in the meantime to capture questions for those that are over YouTube. I've been hearing from those on YouTube that it's working great. So I think we can, Scott, keep me honest here, but I think we can keep everybody who's on the Zoom bridge, go ahead and stay here. Everybody who's on the YouTube can stay there as well.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Well, thanks. We can hear you. We can't see your video,
Yes.
but we can hear you fine.
I can't see you, but we
Great.
can hear you.
Okay. I think you can see me somewhere in some square. You can see me. I'm speaking through my phone, but talking through my computer. In the past 2 years, I've probably had 10,000 Zoom calls. And this is, of course, the first one where the audio is not working. So thank you. Of course. So find my square. You can see me moving with my hands. I understand. The picture that I am speaking from is different than what you see on the screen. And that's okay. But yeah, these are the weird times we're living in, obviously, where everything's a pivot. And what we've known to be true, what we've expected to work, isn't working. Let me tell you a quick story, and I'm going to share part of the content tonight with my good friend April. But I remember, it's been quite a while since I went to college, but I went to college, and I'm speaking to the students for a second. I went to the wrong college for the wrong reasons. Now, I went to University of San Diego. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Loved my time. I don't regret it. But if you had met me when I was a high school student, I would have told you, when you asked, what are you planning on for the future? I would have said, oh, easy. I'm going to go into finance. Why? In hindsight, it's because nobody worries about the kid who says he's going into finance. Nobody. In fact, the opposite happens. I had so many people, my parents, teachers, neighbors, family, friends, when I would say, here's what my plans are to go into finance, and maybe, and then I would have a little bit of nuance. I'm thinking maybe international corporate finance, like a CFO, or maybe auditing on the accounting side, and just to make it sound even more like I knew what I was doing. The truth was, I made that up. I completely made that up. I grew up in a family that was very successful from a business standpoint. And around 13, 14 years old, I kind of watched what was happening above me. What was above me was my older sister, who was 4.72 GPA kid, grew up in Orange County. It's kind of like the Cathedral Catholic of Orange County. I watched her absolutely stress out as a senior about where she was going to go. Am I going to get into Notre Dame? Am I going to Stanford? And at the time she said, I got to go to med school. I got to be a doctor. And I just watched the younger brother just observing all of the stress and headache. I watched her skip out on social events so she could hang out with her friends and study for SAT. And I just, at 13 years old, said, you know what? That seems really stressful to go down that route. It seems stressful to really try for something and pursue something and not really know if it's going to work out for you. So I looked at the writing on the wall. I saw in my family tree a bunch of people that were already in finance. My dad was an auditor for a big global accounting firm, KPMG. I grew up with bankers and CFOs in my family. And I just knew if I go down that path, no one told me to, no one said this is what we do in our family, but I knew if I would say that I will resolve most of the anxiety that most other kids have for the next few years. And so not only did I say I'm going to go into finance, I also said, you know what, I found a school that's within my GPA and test scores. It's kind of a lock for me at the time. USD was a lot easier to get in 20 something years ago, a lot easier. And I said, I'm going to go to USD. It's got a good accounting and finance program. I'm going to go into accounting and finance. It's going to be great. The problem was it wasn't me. It wasn't who I was. It wasn't what I cared about. It wasn't necessarily what I was good at. It wasn't what I wanted to do with my life. And it wasn't until many years later, after years of going to a school for the wrong reasons, in a major that I didn't care about, that I had no intention of going into in reality, that I realized that I'm on the wrong path. So a big part of the message that we want to share, and then I'm going to pass it off to April. The big part of the message we want to share, when you think about what we wish we knew before college applications and admissions, is that we wish we had gone through a process, even if it's disorienting, confusing, overwhelming, brings you more anxiety. We hope that you go through a process, and I'm talking to students, talking to you boys, to think through who you are and who you want to be. As a part of the follow-up to tonight, we're going to send you a link to a very simple digital online course that's going to guide you through a few key exercises to start thinking through not necessarily what you want to do professionally, because if you figure out what you want to do professionally, then realistically, then you ought to figure out what you want to do in terms of your education plans. This course is going to be a guide to help you think through the kind of person that you want to be, which is actually more important. It's actually more important to think through who you want to be than what you want to do. If you can figure out who you want to be, the kind of person you want to be, then what we found over years and years working with lots of students is that it'll become actually easier. You'll be able to see with more clarity and confidence what you want to do. Now, the reason we're here tonight is to talk about college and college admissions, which you parents know has changed. It's changed over the past couple of years. It had already been changing, but it's been accelerated over the past couple of years. So I want to introduce you to my friend and colleague, April Maniscalco, and she's going to share some very relevant content for you.
Thank you, Scott. Sorry. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
Okay, awesome, great. Thank you, and thanks for having me tonight. A little bit about me before I jump in and I'm going to share my screen and do a short presentation, just giving you some information about the college admissions process. I know we have students that range from middle school all the way up to junior year. And so I want to make sure that I'm giving content that's relevant to everyone. So again, my name's April. I think my screen name on here says Joey. That's my husband. I'm using his computer, so don't mind that. But I have worked with students for the last 13 years in the college admissions realm. I've helped thousands of kids walk through the college application process at the UCs, the CSUs, mainly California, the Common App schools out of state. And then, like Scott said, through the pandemic has really been a change in the college admissions process, as we have seen with things like the UCs and the CSUs and a lot of schools going either test blind or test optional with standardized testing. So I have my master's in educational counseling with my PPS credential, and I have my college and counseling certificate from UCLA. So like I said, I have been doing this for a while, and I'm happy to answer any questions at the end of this presentation that you guys might have that are more specific to your situation. All right, so let me go ahead and screen share. Okay, can you guys see this?
Yes.
The 5 key steps, okay. So I'm going to be discussing the 5 key steps in the college application process. So these are just 5 steps that are important no matter where you're at in the college application process, but mainly I'm going to be talking about what's important before you start your actual college applications. And since we're middle school all the way to junior year, nobody should have started their college applications yet, because that's something that you do in the fall of your senior year. So let's dive right in. So first thing, you want to put yourself and your needs first. So you want to ask those why questions before you start making a college list or before you start getting involved in extracurricular activities. Why do you want to go to college? What do you want to accomplish by the time you graduate from college? When you're really spending time to getting to know yourself, you're going to be able to answer those college essays in a more meaningful way that the admissions reps can see and really understand what type of student they're accepting to their college. We have a lot of students who apply to colleges and they just apply because honestly, they don't know why they're applying. They're sometimes applying because their parents told them to apply or because a friend's applying. And if the student's really putting their needs first and what interests them, they're going to be a lot happier, and the retention rate is going to be a lot higher when they're finally accepted to college and they go off for that first year for the next 4 years. Studies show that the happier the student is when they're picking their colleges and it's more in their realm and they're the driver of that college admissions process, then they're more likely to stay at college through the freshman year. So freshman year has the highest rate of students not returning. But if they make it past that freshman year and they're happy with the outcome that they had and they're at a school that's academically right for them, it's socially right, and it's financially right, then they're more likely to succeed and be successful. So students want to establish a hierarchy of what's important to them. So they want to think about things such as location when you're thinking about colleges. If you live on the West Coast and you don't like the cold weather and you're a surfer, you probably might not want to apply to colleges on the East Coast. Those colleges might not be something for you. If you are a student who learns in a smaller class size, you might want to look at private liberal arts colleges instead of those big Ohio State type colleges where your student or you can be in a classroom with 200 or 300 other students in a lecture hall, where maybe the professor is not even teaching your class. It could be a graduate student and the professor doesn't get to know you. You're not able to ask for that letter of recommendation for medical school or graduate school because the class sizes are so large. But some people thrive in those type of environments. So you want to see what works for you, what type of learner are you, and making sure that you're applying to colleges that fit those needs. Athletic options. So if you play sports, you want to do a college search and look at colleges that are going to have your sport if that's important to you. If they're a Division I, Division II, if they have intramural sports. And the list goes on. So you really want to have those, I like to tell students to make a spreadsheet, the non-negotiables, put those non-negotiables on that spreadsheet. And then when you're doing a college search, and I can let you know of some great sites where you can do college searches, basic college searches, and it's going to come up with the plethora of colleges. You want to make sure that those colleges really have what you're looking for and what's non-negotiable for you, your must-haves. And then you'll have an area, a category on that spreadsheet that, yeah, it would be nice, but it's not a deal breaker. If that college doesn't have this, and I get into that college and I visit or I attend virtually, I visit virtually. It would be nice if they had this sorority or this fraternity, this Greek life, but it's not a deal breaker. And then things that are not important at all on your list. So it doesn't matter. Either way, I'm going there. I'm going to be happy, and I know that I'm going to be happy either way. So you also want to resist the temptations of rankings and reputations. I see this through and through, and sometimes it breaks my heart where I have students who apply to, I like to call them sweatshirt colleges. They're applying to the college because it has a great name, right? The colleges that we all know about, the USCs, the Stanfords, the Harvards, the selective schools that kids and parents want to brag, oh, my kid got into USC or they're going to Columbia. But is that the right fit for you? Those schools, the Ivy League schools, have a 0.03% chance. Your student has a 0.03% chance of getting in. And that's not to discourage you. That's to give you real facts that unfortunately there are so many kids applying to college, especially now. Numbers have gone up significantly since the pandemic, but there's still only so many seats at these universities. And nothing makes one college better than the other. So when US News and World Report come out with their top rankings of schools, and they say that these Ivy Leagues, these selective schools are more important than these, they're a business at the end of the day. So when US News and World Report came out with that, the colleges then said, this is how they rank the schools. So we're going to up our area over here so we could be higher on their ranking list. But that's not taking into consideration, like I said, retention. How many of those students actually come back after their freshman year? That's not taking into consideration how happy the students actually are on campus, or if they're actually graduating in 4 years. A lot of the times students assume and parents assume, oh, I'm going to college, I'm getting a bachelor's degree, I'm going to graduate in 4 years, and I'm going to pay 4 years of tuition. But a lot of the times classes are full, classes are impacted. You're not able to get classes you want, and students are then graduating in 5, 6 years, and they're having to take out more student debt, more loans, and just kind of pushing off what they thought they were going to be doing in 4 years. So just making sure you ask those right questions when you're going on college tours. There's a lot of great ways to go on college tours, and I want to quickly talk about that. I have a lot of students who will say, I can't go to a big college. Like, I really want to maybe check out Ohio State, but I don't have the means to go out there. That's understandable, and colleges understand that. Not everyone is able to go on these elaborate college tours and visit all these colleges, but most students are able to do a virtual tour. Most students are able to attend when that college comes to their high school campus and gives information about about their college, attend those information sessions. And most students are able to go into a big college right in their backyard. Even if a student isn't interested in SDSU or UCSD, it's a great way to get your student on a college campus and having them realize this is what a big college campus feels like, or going to Point Loma Nazarene or Concordia up in Orange County and having the feel of what a small college campus feels like. So there's different ways that you can kind of think outside the box and really get some of those great ideas and get the ball rolling, especially if you have a student that's thinking, I'm not sure if I want to go to college. I'm not sure if that's the right path for me. Then that's okay too. A lot of students go to community college. Maricosta, Palomar, great community college, and they have transfer programs. So the community colleges in California have TAG agreements, that stands for Transfer Admissions Guarantee, where students can then transfer to 6 of the different UC schools guaranteed as long as they complete this list of classes. And so if that's something your student's interested in, or that's a great way to save money because Maricosta and Palomar are now free for the first 2 years, that's something that I would encourage your student to look into. Some students want to take a gap year for a year. That's a great option also. Find out who you are, what's important to you, and then go and make that investment in yourself. All right, so letting colleges know you're interested. If you do decide and you're thinking, you know what, college is the track for me, you want to visit the college if possible, or attend the virtual information session. College do info sessions. Every college has a representative for the area. So every high school will have a representative. So let's say you're interested in Tulane, and they have a representative that's going to be for the certain San Diego high schools. You can find out who your representative is for that college and reach out to them with any questions that you have. When I say you have, this is the student has. If the parent is reaching out to the missions rep, that is not going to fare well with the college. So you want to make sure these are coming from your student. These questions are questions that cannot be easily found on their website. Again, when the college is coming to your student's high school campus, you want to make sure that they're attending those information sessions and they're filling out an interest card. And you're sending a follow-up email to the rep, letting them know that you thank you an email and letting them know that you were interested and you'd like more information. Because a lot of schools do demonstrated interest. So the CSUs and the UCs do not do demonstrated interest, so you don't have to worry about it with them. But a lot of the private schools do. And by demonstrated interest, I mean they're tracking and they're seeing this student says they want to apply to our school. In their application, it says that we're their #1 choice, that they've thought about us and dreamed about us since they were a little wee lad. Yet when it comes down to it, we look at our stats, our demonstrated interest stats that we pull. We sent that student emails. They never opened those emails. We attended their high school and we gave sessions. They never attended those sessions. And the way they see if they attended those sessions is those interest cards that they ask your student to fill out. They never attended a virtual presentation that we did for our college. So is this student truly interested in our school, or did they just throw a name in the hat? Are we a backup school for them? So colleges have a yield rate they need to meet, and they're playing a game essentially. When students apply, they're looking to see, is this student truly interested? If we offer this student a spot at our college, is this student going to accept? If they have any reason to believe that if they offer you a spot, you are not going to accept, they're going to typically deny you or defer you, and taking a look at other students that they do feel they're truly the #1 school for your student. So you want to make sure that your student is really reaching out, they're talking to the reps, they're attending these information sessions, and they're really showing that demonstrated interest. Be the person you are proud of. Each decision you'll make in life will have an effect on your life. So the decisions you make today can have an impact on your future. So I hear there are stories where students were accepted to a college a couple years ago. This came out at Brown, and the student was accepted. They made a racial remark on social media, thinking, this Brown will never see this will never get back, whatever they were thinking. And they ended up getting their offer of admissions rescinded from Brown. The racial remark had nothing to do with Brown specifically, but because they identify themselves with the students that they accept, they don't want a student like that at their campus. So they decided to rescind that student's offer of admissions. So you want to make sure that you're making life choices that are going to reflect fairly on you as a student. That doesn't mean that high school students, if you make a mistake in life, that you're going to blow your chances at college admissions. Most high schools do not report discipline to colleges. So you can look on your board policy on that, but most high schools don't report discipline. So if you had a cell phone violation or something happened that you learned from, that is something that you can write about in your college application, how you grew from that. But you just want to make life choices that are going to fairly reflect who you are as an individual and be a person that a college is going to want to be proud of on their campus. All right, so that was my last slide on that. Let me bring it back to the presentation. Okay. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. If you want to put them in the chat, and if somebody either wants to ask them or whatever's easiest for you guys.
While you're doing that, because I'm sure you're probably trying to figure out how specific your questions are they relevant to everybody? Encourage you to ask any question. Chances are, if you've got a question, then half the folks on here also have the same question. But I just want to speak a little bit to the stress that thinking about all this digs up. Because I'm sure if you're sitting there with your son, or you're sitting there with your parents, and you're in 8th grade or 9th grade, there's a part of you that says, gosh, this is so far from now. This is like years from now. I don't really need to worry about this. I've got plenty of other things to worry about. But having these conversations, talking about this, talking about college, it brings up stress. It brings up threats. Am I going to make it? Is my GPA enough? Am I involved enough? That's from maybe the student standpoint. From the parent standpoint, is my kid going to figure it out? Are they ever going to sort of own their own lives? Are they going to have what it takes? Are they ever going to care? Like, there's all these things that bring up stress and pressure. And one of the things that we all know, and we've learned, especially in the past year and a half, 2 years, when stress goes up, when the idea of being under threat goes up, what always turns off in our brains is the ability to think clearly. So I just want to recognize that we start talking about college, stress goes up 100% of the time. I don't think there's a high school student or parents and kids that we've talked to in years, when we start having these conversations, the stress level just has to go up. There's financial questions, there's purpose and meaning, there's career. I mean, there's just so much at stake. And it's hard. It's actually really hard to think clearly when you're under stress. Actually, it's from a kind of a brain standpoint, it's impossible. And so that's why we try to balance these discussions as much as we're talking about the requirements and all that goes into applying well, and how to make a good filtered decision, and thinking about financial aid, all that stuff. We want to balance it just as much for you to think about who you are, what's important to you, what's important to your family, help you start thinking about life after college, because that can help actually settle you and help you become clearer and more confident. So let's look at the chat. Feel free. You can also raise your hands. I think that's an option on Zoom, but we'll take a look at the chat room as well. And one of the big questions that's come up a few times, it looks like, April, is about ACT and SAT and prepping for it. And maybe you can start off with what's going on across the landscape for tests and tests optional. You mentioned that phrase. What does that mean? And how do these parents help their boys plan for these big tests?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of changes of standardized tests since the pandemic has hit. So test optional means if a college says they're test optional, it means they are not going to hold it against the student if they do not admit a test score. So they are fine if the student does not admit a test score. If they're test blind, which all the UCs in the Cal States are test blind, UCs indefinitely, and then the CSUs for the next few years. That means they will not take a look at it. Even if it's submitted, they will not look at it. They're not going to use it as a factor in admissions. The UCs do a comprehensive review. They had 14 factors. Now that they don't use a standardized test, they have 13 factors that they look at, where your GPA and your rigor of classes is going to be at the top of that. It used to be the standardized test score as well, but now that that's not a thing, rigor of classes in context of your high school and what your high school offers is the number one thing, well, below GPA is the number two thing, I guess, that colleges look at when it comes to admissions. The SAT just announced 2 days ago that they are switching to a digital SAT. That won't be in the US, it won't happen until 2024. So it might be for some of the younger kiddos. Internationally, it will happen in the spring of 2023, but the SAT will change from a 3-hour test to a 2-hour test. It will be done on a computer or a tablet that the student will do in a test setting. Still, it won't be done at home. It will be done in an actual test setting. Calculators could be used the whole math section moving forward. So there are some big changes coming. But like I said, a lot of colleges, they are now test optional. I get the question a lot, are they truly test optional? Does it look better to submit a score than not to submit a score? You want to look and see what the average SAT or ACT score is for that college for the last year. So that data will come out for the fall freshman class, and you want to see what that is for that year prior. And have your student, if your student decides to take the SAT or ACT, and then look and see if that student score is close to what the average score is. If it's not close, I'd advise not to send it if it's a test optional school. I think the controversy is I attend NACAC every year, which is where all the colleges go, and they give us presentations and they tell us what they're looking for and just kind of gives us, the counselors, the ins and outs of college admissions. But some colleges are telling us that they would prefer to see a test score over not seeing one, although they say they're test optional. We have told them they need to be more transparent with families if that's what they're asking for, because I think a lot of students are saying, well, if you're test optional and you're saying it's not going to hurt me to not submit a score, then I'm going to choose not to take on that extra stress and pressure and not take that standardized test, especially now. Students weren't able to get the standardized test. I'm sure some of the juniors, students were going to Arizona because they were still open and not canceling tests. And the students here in California, our rules were just stricter, and our testing was canceled like a day or two prior to the students supposed to be going and taking that test. So a lot has changed, and I think a lot more will change in the coming years as more information kind of comes out. And I think as parents and students and counselors and admission advisors kind of push back on some of these standardized tests. I think I had a question on test prep. Test prep is good for whatever your student is able to do, right? The number one thing, like I said, colleges are now looking at is their rigor of classes in the context of what's available to them at their high school and their GPA. So if your student is taking a lot of time practicing for the SAT or ACT, and that's taking away from their academics, their time would probably better be used getting hopefully A's or B's in their academic classes than spending time on upping their score 1 or 2 points on the SAT or ACT. With that being said, if your student has that motivation and they want to do a test prep class, test prep classes are great. They do help with the score. But if you can't afford that, or your student doesn't want to sit in a 6 weeks test preps class for the next 6 Saturdays, another great option, and this will help with the score also, is to go to Barnes & Noble and pick up a Barron's or a Princeton Review, or go to your local library and pick up any of those Princeton Review's SAT or ACT review books. Have your student take the test in their bedroom, you time them, and you then are able to score the test just like it would be done if you did it anywhere else.
There's a couple questions, April, around helping kids stand out. And I think it's actually a kind of a subset of a broader question around how, so we have GPA and there's test scores. What else are colleges looking for? And how do we help our kid think about that at a maybe young age before their senior year?
Yeah. So I get this question a lot also. So most colleges do a holistic review. So they're not just looking at a transcript and the GPA, they're looking at the student as a whole. So they want to know, what is this student's passions? What motivates you? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What makes you want to learn? What did you do during the pandemic? What books did you read? What podcasts did you listen to? How do you stay motivated when the world shuts down? Those are all things that your student can talk about in their college application, but they're things that they need to be doing now, so they're able to talk about that in their college application. So students don't need to be first string in the orchestra unless that's their passion. There's not a checklist that's going to get them into that perfect school. I've had students, and I had a student a couple years ago, and her passion was gardening. She wrote all of her essays on gardening. Gardening has nothing to do with academics, but she got into every college she applied to because it showed in her essays how passionate she was about gardening. leadership. Everybody wants to start a club, be the president of a club on their high school campus. And that's great if that's something you're truly interested in. But don't just do it because you say, oh, it's going to look good on my high school or my college application. There's other ways to be a leader. I worked up in Newport Beach for years, and we had a Best Buddies club on campus with students who were special needs. And there's a Ralph's not too far from the high school. And we had students take those other students across the street, and they taught them how to buy a bag of chips, count out the money, and to make conversation with the cashier and to buy that bag of chips and then go back over to school. So that's a leadership skill. Students who are on a sports team, maybe you're not the captain, but you're on water polo or you're on swim, and your swim team or your water polo team meets at 5 a.m. because I know a lot of schools unfortunately do that before school. And you're the first one in the pool every morning. You're the first one in that cold pool, encouraging your teammates to get in there, but you're not the team captain. That's okay. Those are still leadership skills. And those are leadership skills that colleges want to hear about. So like I said, there's not a one size fits all. It's really about finding what your student's passion is and having them fulfill that passion. I have some students and their passion is video games, and the parents like, my kid's not going to get into college. Like all they do is play video games. But the student is doing engineering. The student is making friends virtually. They're doing so much more, but as an adult or as a parent, I think we just see, oh, they're playing a video game. Like, how is that going to fare well to colleges when they don't have anything to talk about? But your student might have a lot to talk about. I think Minecraft is it, or that you build stuff. I think a lot of students will learn different skills, engineering skills on there, and that's something that they can talk about. So it's, like I said, it could be one thing that a student just peels back the layers when it comes to that college essay. And there's actually a lot there that the student can talk about and show that their passions and what they're into.
Like I mentioned before, obviously this brings up a lot of stress and pressure. And typically, if you're like my wife and I, talking to our kids, we have 3 kids, freshmen, 7th grade, 4th grade. Whenever we start talking about these future-oriented conversations, the stress level goes up and our communication breaks down. So I'm curious, in the chat, maybe you can share a hack or a tip with other parents who are here. What have you found to be productive? How have you found ways to talk about this in the future with your kid without it turning into a breakdown, a shutdown, a fight, or an eye roll? So maybe the chat will be completely empty. Everyone's like, we haven't figured that out. That's why we're here. But I do want to speak, so share that if you've got something. I do want to share just quickly, having this conversation over time is helpful. And having these very pointed, concentrated moments, like for instance, you might be tempted after this webinar ends to turn to your kid and say, okay, let's talk about this now. What do you want? Where are you going? So maybe try that, see if that works, but chances are it won't. But the idea of having a prolonged conversation that you pick up multiple times and set the expectations for your kid. And I want you kids to know about this too, students. I want you to know and give your parents permission, because you know this, you need their help. As much as you're trying to figure out life for your own, you need their help. You need their help to think about making smart choices, certainly financially. But there's a lot of things you know that you don't know yet, and they do. Choices about career and your future. So how can we work together to make really productive communication happen? And I think the idea would be to set expectations clearly up front. We are going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this many times. We're going to talk about this in a way that's civil. And when we get overwhelmed or disoriented or maybe a little bit heated, we're going to take a break and come back to it when we're both in a better place. But we're also not going to ignore it. We're not going to wait until October senior year to start talking about this, to start planning and prepping. So think about that as a family. And maybe there's something that you found or finding with your older kids that's been working well. Any other, Brooks, thank you, from YouTube. Awesome. Brooks, thank you for monitoring YouTube. Can you talk about, and this is certainly a question for April, can you talk about merit scholarships for out-of-state schools? And this person says they were surprised to learn that students under 4.0 could also get scholarship money from some colleges. So I know you know a lot about where money is.
Yeah, there is so much money out there. Most students can get a full ride scholarship. They just don't want to go to those colleges for whatever reason. So merit-based scholarships come through after your student's application is submitted and they've received their acceptance letter. So your student will apply to the colleges that they're applying to, and then they'll get their acceptance, and either with the acceptance or a few weeks after the acceptance, they'll get if they got a merit-based scholarship. So merit-based scholarships is done off of typically GPA and standardized test score. Now that some colleges aren't using standardized test score, they're just basing it off of GPA, but you're going to want to check with each of those colleges your student's applying to see if they need a standardized test score for a merit-based scholarship. Even though your student might not want to submit it for admissions purposes, they might need it for a merit-based scholarship. So yeah, you could get them. It's different at every college what the cutoff is. So Embry-Riddle, great school. They have a satellite campus in Prescott, Arizona. Their main campus is in Daytona, but they offer merit-based scholarships to their students. But if you have a certain GPA, then you qualify for a certain tier of scholarship money. Now, if you submit your standardized test score and you don't have that same GPA, that can actually bump you out of that merit-based scholarship. So you kind of have to do research on each of these schools to see, hey, if I submit my standardized test score and it's not to par of what they're looking for, if I only submit my GPA, is that going to get me more money for merit, or is it going to get me more money if I submit both? So it's just going to be dependent on what your scores are and what the college's policy is. But there's a lot of money out there, merit-based scholarships. Then there's need-based scholarships. There's going to be financial aid. So you have your FAFSA that you fill out, that's federal aid. And then the private schools have a CSS profile that you have to fill out to a lot of the private schools. That's non-federal aid. So there is a lot of money out there, and a lot of families will say, we don't qualify for financial aid. We're not going to fill that out. We're not going to fill out the FAFSA. If your student wants any loans, though, that are subsidized or unsubsidized, you have to go through the FAFSA process to get some of those loans that do have either the no interest rate while you're in college or the very low interest rate. So you'd be surprised on what people can qualify for. Also, like I mentioned, MiraCosta and Palomar are free for the first 2 years, even for everybody, no matter how much money you make. But you do have to fill out the FAFSA. Even if you know for a fact you do not qualify for financial aid, part of getting that free tuition is filling out the FAFSA. So like I said, there is a lot of money out there, merit-based scholarships like USC. Some have merit-based scholarship deadlines. USC has a scholarship deadline of October 1st. As you guys probably also have questions about if you're getting closer to the application cycle, there's regular decision. There's early action, there's early decision. You have your application deadlines also. But to speak to Scott's point earlier, I think the best way to help your child through this application process without butting heads is to remember that this is their application process. This is their future. And as much as sometimes I think we want to do things for our kids, we need to let them go and let them fly and let them stumble and not always be there to pick things up. So there's going to be only those major application deadlines, right? You're going to have your November 1st if you're applying early, or your January 1st if you're not. And I think as a parent, making sure they meet those deadlines. But if it's through that, I would have your students set their own expectations. And then if you have a good relationship, check in with them and see where they're at. Sometimes people will hire private college counselors like myself to come in and meet with their student to see where things are, to kind of take the heat off of the family dynamic. I have 2 boys myself, they're only in 1st grade, but I've noticed that side by side, I call it shoulder to shoulder activities, help a lot if I'm trying to get some words out of them. So I think if you're not already doing shoulder to shoulder activities, going on a walk, going fishing, anything like that, bowling is going to be helpful when you're trying to get some information, especially on college admissions from them.
It's past 7. We want to be mindful of time. we have a specific resource to share with you, something April and I put together. It's definitely a labor of love during the pandemic. The idea of hiring a private college counselor, like she just mentioned, obviously is an option. Many parents do it. But we also wanted to create an opportunity for families and kids who maybe don't want to invest that money and yet still need the help and support that you can't get from your school counselor because they're overwhelmed. They've got hundreds of kids under their caseload. So we put together a course, and it's this might sound like a sales pitch. It's not. It's literally a step-by-step process, a roadmap to follow for your kid, driven by them to do all the right things at the right time, so that they're making the best choices at the right moment for who they are and who they're turning into, and doing all the things to really play the game well, because there is a game to it. So it's in the chat. I'll put it there. There's the link. If you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to us. But we're going to send you the recording, which includes the slides, contact info. And obviously this was a crash course in all this stuff. And we hope if you're feeling any level of feeling overwhelmed or disoriented, that's okay. But we're here if you need us to help you sort through it. So thanks to Brooks and the team for inviting us. And we wish you obviously the best as you go forward. Unless there's other comments, we're going to wrap up and shut it down. Thanks for you for being here. Thanks for working through some of the technology issues. And for those of you on Zoom, YouTube, awesome. Great pivot. And tis the season, huh?
Yeah, I think for all of us, this is a really classic example on grace under pressure and pivoting and making mountains out of molehills. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everyone for your patience, and I thought it was a great session. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
It's excellent.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Hey. Oh, did you already go off? Kelly, are you still on here?